of alcohol or drugs, sleeping pills, tranquilizers, and you stop dreaming, it can lead to a psychotic state. When you suddenly withdraw from that, you have hallucinations. You dream even while you're awake because they've been suppressed. Dreams are a way of releasing stress, and if you don't release it, then it can lead to psychosis. Now, having said that, dreams can be symbolic expressions of things that you're thinking about. You can have lucid dreaming, you can have creativity in dream, you can have insight, and you can learn to witness your dreams, which is a very valuable thing to do.
What is the role of pleasure and pain in connecting the body with consciousness?
Pleasure and pain are experiences of contrast. If you didn't have pleasure, you wouldn't know what pain is. If you don't have darkness, you don't know what light is. If you don't have up, you don't know what down is. You don't have hot, you don't know what cold is. So our consciousness differentiates into experience by creating contrast. And therefore both pain and pleasure are necessary. But when you hang on to your pain and pleasure, then that's called addiction.
There's a little note here from Desi Hits saying, "Happy birthday. Can music be meditative? If so, which genre? Do you use music to relax?"
Music is one of the most important experiences for healing. In fact, now there are studies that show that if you give somebody Narcan is a narcotic antagonist, then they don't enjoy music anymore because music is metabolized into opiates in your body. And these opiates are immunomodulators. And it doesn't matter which genre of music. As long as you enjoy it, as long as it gives you a feeling of ecstasy, or a feeling of joy, then that music is causing some very profound biological effects. What kind of music do I like? I like the Beatles. I'm old-fashioned.
My favorite too. We are here this evening with best-selling author Deepak Chopra. The next question is, have you been with someone when they pass away? And what do you think happens to their soul?
See, I have been with many people when they pass away. After all, I'm a doctor and I used to work in the emergency room, so I used to see people passing away all the time. One thing I can tell you, they never said, "I wish I'd spent more time at the office." Okay. What happens to the soul? What happens to the space we're in if these walls collapse? What happens? Nothing happens, right? Let's say you and I are speaking on the phone and we cut off the phone lines. What happens to you and me? Nothing. So nothing happens to the soul. The soul is always there. Soul is being transcendent, being non-local. Remember, the word non-local has no location in space-time. So nothing happens to the soul. What happens is to your body. Your body disintegrates. Okay. Nothing happens to the soul. The soul is non-local. And non-local means, in a non-local universe, there's nowhere to go. You're transcendent. But if you understand discontinuity, that everything is going on and off, the atoms are going on and off, molecules in your body are going on and off, you're recycling your body all the time. The universe is a big recycling plant. And just like your body is also always recycling, your mind recycles too, right? Because all your emotions, all your thoughts is recycled energy and information. And now if we understand information theory, information is just like energy is never destroyed, information is never destroyed too. Information resides in a non-transcendent domain. And so too consciousness cannot be destroyed. So the short answer is, consciousness outlives the death of the physical molecules through which it expresses itself. And you talk a number of physicists who study consciousness, they say being non-local, it is mathematically impossible to kill consciousness. So it's mathematically impossible that you won't survive death.
Okay,
read books about this. Read my book, Life After Death, or read Erwin Laszlo. He's a Hungarian scientist who talks a lot about what is called the 0-point energy field, which is the same thing as consciousness.
Switching to your business side, Deepak, you're an amazing success as an entrepreneur and as a businessman. What do you believe is the unique selling proposition of your business? What's your management style and philosophy? And what is your definition of work-life balance?
First of all, I never in my life focused on business. It just happened. And even now, I'm not engaged actively in business like the Chopra Center and everything else. It's taken care of by other people. And they own the business as well. So I don't own my own business. I focus on expressing myself, and I focus on how to enlarge my understanding of healing, from physical healing to spiritual healing to emotional healing. And now I'm engaged in bigger projects like addressing social justice and global warming, etc. I have a non-profit foundation. I'm glad you brought this up because I have started something called a Start Fund along with the European philanthropist, and we fund projects all over the world, anywhere from 25,000 to 100,000. So if you have an interesting project in your community, you go on our website, deepakchopra.com, go to Chopra Foundation, look for Start Fund, and the whole thing is done on the internet. If you qualify, then there's an interview. And we are spreading this global Start Fund idea to create an economy of giving globally. And you're welcome to participate in it, either as a contributor or as somebody who wants to use the funds for a worthy project. So I've never really focused on business because I dislike the first sentence they teach you in business school, which is that the purpose of a business is to improve shareholder value. I think the purpose of business is to improve the quality of life on this planet and the quality of communities. And if you can do that successfully, you will be enormously successful. So just focus on what are your unique skills, what's your passion, how can you express it to improve the quality of people in your community or in the world, and you'll be a successful businessman.
We are here this evening with best-selling author Deepak Chopra. Congratulations on your foundation. Thank you for doing that work. But following that, you're seen as a guru to the rich and famous, especially to Hollywood celebrities. Do you feel you've lost touch with the family that was put out of their home this summer, or the senior who lost his pension to Wall Street excesses, or the single sick mother in the inner city living on disability?
First of all, the whole Hollywood celebrity thing is a media phenomenon, okay? If you asked me what's the percentage of people from Hollywood that I come into contact, what's my activity with Hollywood celebrities, it would be less than 0.1% of my total work. Less than 0.1%, but of course it makes the news. And my activity right now is principally writing my books, doing my workshops, and my non-profit work with the Chopra Foundation and the Start Fund.
Deepak, does a comatose patient have a soul?
Yes, does. Try and remember that the soul is non-local. So, you're listening to Beethoven on the radio and your radio is not working. Does that mean that Beethoven is not being broadcast? Okay. Your nervous system in your brain is a localizing mechanism for a field of consciousness that transcends space and time. And therefore, it doesn't matter whether you're comatose or you're dead, your soul is always there. Am I making sense? When you read Shakespeare, it's Shakespeare in the ink, but comes through the ink, right? The consciousness of Shakespeare. So too, consciousness, which is non-local, comes through the nervous system and your biology, but it's not located in. I spent the first half an hour talking about this. Huh?
Just making sure everyone's listening. You've talked about God as a woman. What aspect of the feminine do you think exemplifies the divine?
Well, I do that just to shake people out because people usually think of God as a dead white male in the sky, especially in the West, right? So God is actually neither a man nor a woman. God is infinite potential, infinite consciousness, infinite source of energy, information, space-time, and universes upon universes. If you now understand that there are parallel universes, God is too magnificent, too big to be conceptualized. We do a disservice to God when we conceptualize God. Without God, there's no conceptualization, but God is beyond our imagination. Now, having said that, of course, because God has infinite attributes, God definitely can be symbolized in feminine archetypes, which we do in India. We have the great goddesses, Saraswati and Lakshmi and Durga and many others. These are archetypal, symbolic expressions of higher states of consciousness that represent truth, beauty, harmony, affection, tenderness, peace, higher consciousness, intuition, insight, creativity. These are feminine attributes. And in the culture that we are living now, we need to embrace these feminine attributes because, basically, as they say, in evolution, survival of the fittest is the past phase of our evolution. The future belongs to survival of the wisest. And wisdom includes those feminine traits of beauty, intuition, nurturing, tenderness, affection. When you think mother, what do you think? All those qualities. So God can be thought of as the feminine face of God, which in India is called Shakti, and the Jews call Shekinah.
You are an inspiration to so many people. Who do you admire and why?
Who do I admire and why? In recent times, people who I've admired are people like, I mentioned Krishnamurti, but Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, President Obama, if I may say so, the leader of Costa Rica, Oscar Arias, started a movement of unilateral disarmament in the world. And so there are many people I have admired in the recent past. These days I'm obsessed with my grandchildren. I admire them the most.
It's wonderful. No particular segue to this question, but any thoughts about recreational drugs?
My first experience with spirituality was with LSD when I was 17. So, I can honestly say that it was my first kind of excursion into other dimensions. I do not recommend recreational drugs because they can damage the nervous system, and yet there are traditions in the world, particularly American Indian traditions, and also traditions amongst the Aborigines in Australia, and traditions even in India. When I was actually, this is very interesting, Lata. When I was going to we were going to Haridwar with the ashes of my parents, my father who had just died. So we were taking the ashes to Haridwar, and my brother was now the Dean of Medical Education at Harvard Medical School. He and I, when we had the ashes of my father, and we were going in this taxi up to Haridwar, and we saw these sadhus. Sadhus are Indian holy men, and they looked totally stoned. Okay, so my brother asked the taxi driver, our car driver, what are they taking? And he said, ganja, sir, ganja. So my brother said, can we get some? He said, no, you have to be enlightened to get it. So even in India, there's a tradition actually amongst these swamis, these danda swamis and other sadhus, where they take. But the people who take those recreational drugs, they're not recreational. They're part of a ritual. And according to anthropologists, when you use these substances that have been used for thousands of years as part of a ritual, under shamanic supervision, they shift you, they trap your energy, they release your energy along certain lines. So I would not recommend anyone in this room try it on their own. If you really want to try it, then go to South America, go to Peru, look for a really authentic shaman who does these rituals.